right now over me. All right, folks, you certainly know what that theme song means by now. That's right, it's time for another episode of America Matters. I'm your host, Leo Zacky, with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. They're there in Reno. I'm here in Los Angeles, and it is April 10th. We are at 12:05 p.m. Welcome to the second hour of America Matters today. That's right, folks, it's Thursday. That means you get a double dose.
Double dose. Leo, before I move on to any other segments, do you have any more comments or videos, etc., regarding building out of concrete and steel?
No, it's not necessarily the solution. It's really
Right.
not. Fortunately, the Grant Cardone doesn't know what he's talking about in that regards.
Right. Well, then I'm going to move on to the next segment that I broke out, thanks to Jeff, the economic relationship between the United States and China and growing calls for harsher tariffs. Some are even advocating for 400% tariffs on Chinese imports to fight back against unfair trade practices and protect American businesses and demand accountability from the Chinese government.
Yeah, well, China doesn't play by the rules. And that's the reality of the situation. They've never played by the rules. They have no respect for IP, which is, intellectual property. It's kind of important. That's, what falls under things like patents and stuff like that. They just rip off all our technology.
Right.
And Mr. Wonderful has made a statement about this on CNN the other day, where he was discussing just that. So, but yeah, I mean, let's get some more background here. I mean, China, they joined the World Trade Organization, another bogus organization that has, the word world in front of it. So it's somehow a unifying and bonding agreement, which it isn't. Like, it's like the World Health Organization, right? Nobody gives a crap, with promises of reform. So critics argue that China has not fully lived up to the World Trade Organization commitments. Shocker. Because, like I mentioned, they steal intellectual property and they just don't play fair. So Americans have, and American businesses have long reported issues faced with these issues, and because China just rips everybody off. So it's the unfair playing field that we are stuck with. So the case for the tariffs is being made for a lot of reasons, because we need to bring them to the negotiating table, put the squeeze on them, because it's not about the fact that they're just producing stuff. It's the way that they're ripping us off, and they're ripping off Americans. So bringing tariffs as high as 400% could act as a way to get, Xi Jinping on a flight over here to actually sit down and maybe do something to rein in China, but we'll see all about that. So I got a video here we're going to play for you real quick, and we got that clip, so let's roll the tape.
All right.
Percent tariffs in China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the number one economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second,
tariffs
Kevin. Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
It's short-lived. There will be
but what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal. 104%.
That's exactly the clip I was talking about.
That's right. You're right.
Look, as we mentioned before, the reason that American manufacturing also struggles is because when things get, ripped off by China and they start producing it at a fraction of the value, a lot of people are going to buy the Chinese knockoff. And a lot of people do buy the Chinese knockoff because it's cheaper and it serves the purpose that they're needing for. So American industries lose out. That's why the protection of intellectual property is so important. And that's why these tariffs are going to be very important, because it brings them to the table and it makes it non-competitive for the Chinese knockoffs to be sold in the U.S. market.
That's right.
I mean, it's really that simple. I mean, Eddie, you've dealt with stuff like this before.
Oh, absolutely. And I got to tell you, thank God that we have Donald John Trump in office today. Otherwise, we would continue to be ripped off and become a third world country overnight.
Absolutely. And look, he's here to defend Americans, American business, and bring back American prosperity. And yes, the tariffs are going to make things a little bit more expensive, but look how quickly all these other countries are coming to the negotiating table.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want that. And it's good. We have to hit them hard. But but the other things too, that these tariffs are targeting, things like electric vehicles and semiconductors, and it brings stronger international coalitions, like working with the EU and allies to pressure China together. Because they're not just stealing American IP, they're stealing European IP. They steal everybody's stuff.
Right.
So it makes, tighter controls on sensitive technologies, helping protect us from Chinese theft. I mean, what do you think happened with all those military equipment that was left over in Afghanistan? The Chinese came in, they took Bagram Air Base, they got all the amazing, equipment, the attack helicopters and whatnot. I guarantee you they're reverse engineering that stuff right now.
Right now. You better believe it.
So it's increasing investment on domestic manufacturing and reducing dependence on China long term. That's what this is about. We've been hurting ourselves for years, and now we're actually having someone stand up and protect we the people. Unfortunately, there's going to be some uncomfortable bits, but we have to get through this, and we will. So,
well, we'll get through it as a people because we have the right leader, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But
we got to take our first break on the second hour of America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
I'm so over this. I diet, I work out, and the scale won't budge.
I hear you. Nothing's more discouraging than doing all that work and seeing no result.
I just don't get it. I'm eating healthy, hitting the gym. What's your secret?
Honestly, I was in the same boat until I found Active Life Integrated Health.
Wait, what's different about them?
It's a natural weight loss approach. Dr. Tom and his team help with appetite suppression, energy boosts, hormone balancing, and the FM diet. It's not about starving yourself or exhausting workouts. It's about resetting your body to burn fat the right way.
I'm Dr. Waldorf, chiropractic physician at Active Life Integrated Health, where our natural approach helps you lose weight safely and effectively without extreme dieting or chemicals. Call 775-842-0065 today to schedule your complimentary consultation. Also, the first 25 callers who mention promo code Health Matters will receive 10% off of your treatment program. So call 775-842-0065 to boost your energy and start losing weight today.
In times of market volatility, it can be a good reminder to revisit your financial strategies to make sure they align with your goals. Call 775-674-2222 or visit nvretirementplanners.com. Advisory services are offered through Nevada Retirement Planners, an investment advisor in the state of Nevada. Any insurance products and services are offered through Nevada Senior Advisors. Nevada Retirement Planners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Nevada Retirement Planners does not provide legal or tax advice.
Barbecue the Butcher's Kitchen would like to thank every customer for your loyalty and continued support through these challenging times. Call for takeout and delivery of rib tips, brisket, ahi tuna, roasted veggies, and much more. Barbecue's open from 11 to 7, Monday through Saturday, and delivers hot food safe and healthy. Call 499-5855 for details. 499-5855 Barbecue, as featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives. Get real. Get into Barbecue Reno.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900 extension 2. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. And, we were just talking a bit about the tariffs, but, those tariffs lead to other things and, like market crashes and panic. And you know a little bit about that, Eddie. What
Absolutely, Leo. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ are taking significant hits right now. Headlines scream panic, and investors are all on edge. Here's a question. Why now, Leo? Why now?
Well, why is the drop causing such alarm when previous and even more substantial declines, barely even registered in public discourse? Let's rewind to 2022. The market suffered a substantial blow. The S&P 500 dropped nearly 20%, with tech stocks faring even worse. Your 401k likely took a significant hit, and yet the media reaction was relatively muted. No worst day since the pandemic headlines. No widespread panic. It was treated as just another day on Wall Street.
Right.
But you fast forward to April 2025, and the markets are down sharply again. The S&P 500 plummeted about 14% over the past 3 trading days, marking one of the most significant drops since the 1987 Black Monday crash. And the NASDAQ composite has fallen more than 15% in the same period. It's the largest 3-day loss since the dot-com crash in April of 2000.
Wow.
So now the media is in a frenzy and ringing the alarm bells and panic's in the air. What changed? Could it be that the fear is selectively manufactured?
I
think so.
I do too.
Some market downturns are portrayed as existential threats, while others are downplayed or ignored. When you see how the narratives are, and not just reported but crafted, if the media doesn't want you to panic, you won't. But if the panic serves their agenda, they'll ensure you'll feel like the sky is falling. So, consider the recent events leading up to this crash. All right, April 2nd, President Donald Trump announces sweeping tariffs, including 104% duty on Chinese imports and additional levies on goods from the EU and Japan, South Korea, Vietnam. And China retaliated with 84% tariffs on U.S. goods, escalating fears of a global trade war. And these actions triggered a sharp decline in global markets, with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ experiencing significant losses. So then there's the deep state angle. If such all-powered shadowy group truly exists, which they do, controlling outcomes from behind the scenes, would they allow the dramatic crashes to occur? Of course they would. Why wouldn't they? Because the crash happens, and what does it do? People panic and they sell. What do? Buy it up for pennies on the dollar. We've seen a historical event like this take place a long time ago. You familiar with the Battle of Waterloo?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Napoleon's last great battle, right?
Right.
Well, Rothschild had an observer at the Battle of Waterloo, and had that guy run back and tell him and report the news, because this is, before airplanes and automobiles, they had to get the information one way. They had to physically be there and then run that message back.
Right.
So they put out, and Rothschild owned a lot of the papers, and put out fake information saying that Napoleon had won, which caused panic. And it was going to be another scourge upon Europe, right? Continental
Right.
Europe. So the stock market in London panicked, and everybody panic sold. And what happened? Well, Rothschild comes in and buys everything up for pennies on the dollar. Next day, the real news comes out. Oh, turns out Napoleon lost. But guess what? Nobody owns anything anymore. Rothschild bought it all.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
This stuff has happened in history. It's documented. It will continue to happen. It's happening right now. I guarantee
Right.
it. I guarantee it. Look, the stock market isn't necessarily the economy. It's a reflection of sentiment, speculation, and certainly manipulation. So, and how you feel about things are often the most curated part of it all.
Right. Remember when the world shut down, Leo? Streets were empty, businesses shuttered,
Yep.
schools closed, people locked inside their homes. Okay? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah, and I played hockey 6 days a week. It was amazing.
That's right.
I did. It was great. I mean, that was the best. That was my silver lining to all that. But yeah. But look,
I got to feed horses through the whole thing. I never got shut down one time.
That's right.
They considered me a necessary commodity.
Nice.
And then the radio didn't get shut down either, Leo. The radio was on 24/7. They didn't shut us down either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we were selling liquor or pot or something too, right?
Or casino gambling.
Yeah, exactly. But
close the churches, but keep the casino open.
That's right. If you were preaching the gospel, whoa, we got to shut that down right now.
That's
Nip
right.
that one in the bud. Morality, how dare you?
Yeah. Don't dare shut the casinos down, Goombas.
Yeah, no, we certainly took advantage of it, like because you could rent the ice rink out. You could rent it for private ice. That was the loophole. But whatever we chose to do with the private ice, if we wanted to invite 20 of our friends to come play on it, that was the loophole. So we did. It's the best. But anyways, look, it's manufactured. All right, all of it. The mainstream media. They lie to you about everything. And again, there's bias towards Donald Trump. They hate Donald Trump. They're trying to make him be painted out as this villain and this idiot and this failure. And I mean,
Nazi.
That's their favorite. That's their favorite word.
That's
So
right.
now they've got this conspiracy theory, Leo, that he's going to do martial law on April 20th.
Oh yeah, okay.
You hear that crap? Yeah.
Yeah, on Easter.
Yeah, right. It's Hitler's birthday. That's what they're pushing. Yeah. All these phony ass libtards.
Well, it's also Easter this year.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking Hitler's
Easter.
birthday.
Yeah, 22nd. Oh, no, it's Earth Day. Okay.
No, no. Yeah,
Easter is the 20th. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it's Easter.
Yep.
Hitler's birthday.
Yeah, Hitler's birthday happens to be Easter this year. All right. Well, great. They love throwing the Hitler name around. That's their favorite. I mean, it's like,
oh yeah,
so ridiculous.
I had to get rid of more people on Facebook because they're so. They compared Trump with him, and it's so out of
Hitler's touch. Trump is Hitler. Musk is Hitler. Republicans are Hitler. Everybody's Hitler.
They're all Nazis. All of them.
Yeah. Everybody's a Nazi. Everybody's a fascist. But you ask them to define the word, you got them stumped there.
Yeah, and that media, man, they're just flying monkeys.
Yeah,
they're just flying monkeys, man, like on the Wizard of Oz, being controlled by the witch.
Dude, the Wizard of Oz is such a it's very, 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 very deep. There's a lot of underlying things there, the whole concept of the man behind the curtain and the Emerald City, and the yellow brick road. It was representing the gold standard. Follow the yellow brick road. That means stay with the gold standard.
And in the end, Toto.
Yeah, revealed
Toto. Yeah, exposing it all.
Right. And there's meanings like about the scarecrow represented the rural farmers, and the Tin Man represented people that live in the city, right? There's a lot of underlying things that you have to take away from it. But that's when art was like
a lot of
real thing.
subliminal messaging in that movie, Leo.
Yeah, but it was good. It was good stuff. It wasn't. This wasn't like the subliminal messaging like you should live a single life and do drugs and get abortions. This was positive.
Yeah.
This was positive. Underlying concepts. So, I mean, look, there's a lot we can learn from the past, but you have to remember the victors write the history books, and that we have been lied to about so many things. And Operation Mockingbird is a very real thing, but this predates Wizard of Oz predates Operation Mockingbird.
Right.
You know all about that.
Yep.
Yep. Absolutely.
If you don't know what Operation Mockingbird is, folks, please look it up. It's a government plan that the CIA has been executing that basically manipulates us through subliminal thought, through music and media. It's pretty crazy.
All the media are saying the same thing. I've seen it on YouTube.
Wait, weren't they talking about Operation Mockingbird in the courts right before they did the whole Watergate scandal? Like they were talking about Operation Mockingbird, and then Watergate happened.
Right.
And everybody forgot about the whole Operation Mockingbird thing. It was just like, oh, Nixon, bad. He's spying. He's doing illegal stuff. Focus on that. Distraction. So.
Yep.
Market panic divide, Leo.
We'll have to talk about that. Can we take our break a little early?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Let's take our bottom of the hour break right now. And when we get back, we're going to start talking about the market panic divide. There's we had a lot of stuff to talk about today.
Sounds good. Thanks, Leo.
I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
We're talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, I don't know anything about jewelry at all. I don't know anything about diamonds. I need to get something for my lady.
Well, you know what, Jim? Come on in. We are your local jeweler, and we want to be your personal shopper. For 27 years, we know that we are doing business directly with the right manufacturers. We have negotiated great prices. They have the right trend, the right designs, quality, from earrings to pendants to you name it, we've got it.
That means you're going to help me from beginning to end.
My family, we've been working for this for a long time. I don't know how to change oil or anything, but I know diamonds. I know jewelry. So if you want to come in, you don't have to worry about anything. We'll find the exact gift that you're looking for that's going to make you look like $1 million, that you really took the time and effort to choose something, not just say, I'll take this. Your lady will know that you took the time and found a beautiful gift for her.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
Have you been injured in an accident? Trust Adriana Guzman-Freilich at AGF Law, your local personal injury law firm in Reno. At AGF Law, we pride ourselves on being honest, hardworking, and ethical. Let's meet in person to understand your case and fight for your rights. Located near South Virginia and Plum, we're always ready to help. Don't navigate the aftermath of an accident alone. Call Adriana at 775-453-9595 or visit adrianalegal.com. Your recovery is our priority, and we're committed to getting you the justice you deserve.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. Moving into the second half of the second hour of the second show.
Amen. Amen. A lot of twos there. We were talking, and we're going to talk right now about the market panic divide. Remember when the world totally shut down, Leo? Streets were empty, businesses shuttered, schools closed, people locked in their homes. Are you kidding me, Leo?
Well, we all lived through it, sadly, and it was all in the name of flattening the curve in 2 weeks to stop the spread. You know, but what really got flattened? Let's talk about facts. Simple.
Yeah.
Small businesses were hit the hardest. Many never came back. You drive down your drive through your communities, see all the vacant commercial retail space available. That's still lingering. Okay, a study published in the PNAS showed thousands of closed permanently businesses due to the lockdowns.
Wow.
Unemployment spiked to 14.8% in April of 2020. That's just 5 years ago, folks. Not that long ago. The highest since the Great Depression. Young workers bore the brunt, with 1 in 4 unemployed by mid-year. And mental health tanked. People were isolated, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, it all skyrocketed, even suicide. In education, look at our kids today. They're dumb as rocks. Can't even read.
No.
Millions of kids lost months, if not years, of learning. All this for a virus with a 99.7% survival rate for most non-elderly folks. And yes, you know, the COVID virus, you know, it was serious for folks that had 4 or more comorbidities. You know, if you're very old and had an autoimmune disorder and diabetes and, you know, high blood pressure, yeah, it would have probably done you in pretty good there. But so were the consequences of shutting down society. Those were pretty damn serious too.
Amen. Matter of fact, they said it was a necessary sacrifice. Fast forward to 2025, the market sneezes and everyone panics, Leo.
Right. And here we are 5 years later, April 2025 now. Market takes a dip. Dow Jones sheds over 4,000 points in 2 days. And investors are freaking out because the media outlets are calling it a crisis. Emergency Fed meetings and rumors of the stimulus on the way, all this panic, all this chaos. What triggered it?
The media.
Well, yeah, the media certainly triggered all this panic, but
it bounced back big time yesterday, about 1,400 points. It came back. If people just leave the money alone, it's going to be fine. They're predicting 50,000 by 2028.
Right. I mean,
just leave it alone.
But look, part of this is that Trump wants to, have this uncertainty in the market and kind of crash the market so he can get the interest rates lowered so we can refinance the $9 trillion worth of our debt.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's a smart call. And look, when the market goes down, look, if you know the market's going to go down, then sell your stuff, because when it does, you can buy it back for less than you sold it, which is what you would call making a profit.
Yeah, that's Major Harold talked about that last night, Eddie.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He said, "Oh man, I should have sold then rebought it. Now it's gone back up $4."
Right. You make the money.
Right.
And hell, you could buy even more of those stocks. So when it does go up, you'll make even more money.
Yep.
So, anyways, President Trump's new wave of tariffs have definitely triggered the quote unquote panic, and some call it economic nationalism, others call it reckless, but here's what matters. Wall Street doesn't like it. So now you cue in the panic. Where's the urgency when the real economy was imploding in 2020, right?
Right.
Where was that? Where were the emergency meetings about the millions lost and the jobs lost and the homes that people could no longer afford to live in lost? Where was all that? Where was the care back then? Back then the sacrifice was patriotic. Now, if you read lines on the stock chart and it's the apocalypse.
That's unbelievable.
Believe it or not, but the problem is everybody's just so easily manipulated. The worst part is you guys are freaking out about the media. Remember, folks, if you didn't buy that scamdemic bullcrap, or even if you did and you've realized that it was exactly that, bullcrap. And then you turn back to the same television, the same news anchors, the same lying talking heads on the mainstream networks on television. And you're going to take their word for it now? Have you not learned anything?
Nope. Attention span. It's
Boy.
like TikTok, man.
Yeah.
15 seconds.
You know, I'm telling you, our people are stupid and they're getting stupider.
Well, people are just afraid. They're just afraid. And look, I get it. In a world full of uncertainty and you're struggling to get by, again, government, again, this is all of this can be avoided with properly managed government, reined in government, the destruction of the bureaucratic process. Make the government as small as possible. Make sure that the states aren't infighting with one another, protect our borders, protect our sovereignty and our culture.
Right.
We don't need a nanny state. We don't need all these government handouts at every turn. Yes, do we need to help the folks, the homeless? Sure, we got to help them, but we have to help them help themselves. We can't just give them hotels to stay in and clean needles to enable their drug habit.
Right.
We have to give we the people infrastructure that works. We need to do long-term, long forward-thinking projects that are going to set us up for success and not reactionary nonsense. This is what's crippling us, is the constant reactionary decisions, without any long-term vision.
You know, Leo, you hit the nail on the head. The United States right now is currently grappling with a national debt exceeding 36 trillion with a T, a figure that has alarmed economists and policymakers alike.
Yeah. Well, servicing this colossal debt at prevailing interest rates is becoming increasingly burdensome. This is what I've been talking about.
Right.
Some analysts propose that significant market downturn could serve as a catalyst for the Federal Reserve to implement substantial rate cuts, which is what I was saying the plan is. This is the plan. Get the rates to come down so we can refinance the debt so we don't have to pay as much in interest, okay? Because the debt that we're carrying is essentially a loan with interest. But if we can refinance it and pay less interest on that large sum of money, that'll help us. That will really help us. Because a lot of our, think about it, what's the interest rate we're paying on it right now? Like,
what, $3 billion a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's
it's
a
more
lot
than our military budget.
Yeah, it is. It is. Think about that. Just on interest alone, we are spending more than what it costs to run our entire military that is stationed around the globe and apparently now in outer space.
Yeah.
So these rate cuts that we're hoping are going to get implemented by the Fed will help us save that money and allow us to implement that money to go. Imagine if we took that entire military spending budget and invested it into things that could help generate additional revenue, or better yet, fix the problems so we stop having to spend money on Band-Aids. What if we just got everything to work right? Took all that money, you fixed our infrastructure. That way we didn't have to pay for Band-Aids left and right. Oh, these power lines went down because they're old and crappy, or the pipes are all full of lead and killing us. What if we just did the right thing? So, to understand this theory, let's break down the proposed mechanism. The market crash is initiated, so a deliberate, or incidental action leads to sharp decline of the stock market, and then investor flight to safety in response. The investors seek refuge in the U.S. Treasury securities, and traditionally viewed as safe havens during financial turmoil. Then the increased demand lowers the yields, and the surge in demand for the treasuries drives the yields down. Then the Federal Reserve intervenes, and their economic instability with their and reduced yields create pressure on the Fed to cut the interest rates to stimulate growth and stabilize markets. So by orchestrating such a sequence, the government could potentially refinance its debt under more favorable terms.
Amen.
Strain. I mean, look, it's a very sound plan, but it's just implemented by Donald Trump, who's apparently a Nazi with Adolf Hitler Musk. Right. That's the whole thing. It's if it was, imagine if Joe Biden came up with this freaking plan, which he could never in a million years. What do you think the mainstream media would be saying? Or if
full speed ahead, man, full speed ahead.
Right? Or Kamala Harris, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the difference of rhetoric that would be out there.
Well, we've seen it the last 4 years.
Just lie after lie after lie.
Yep.
Right.
Anything to drop the America, anything to take America down.
Right. Well,
one thing after another.
Right, because they want you poor, and they want you stupid, and they want you subservient to them, and especially dependent on them.
And they're sold out to China too.
Oh yeah, Beijing Biden, hello.
Yeah.
10% for the big guy.
That's right.
Yep. Folks, you can't forget about these things. Just because Biden's out of office doesn't mean it's water under the bridge. We move on and forget about it. No, this stuff happened. This all happened. People need to still be held accountable. See, that's what's really upsetting me about this Trump presidency right now. It's like we're uncovering all this fraud and we're exposing all the lies, but where the hell are the arrests?
Yeah, and people go into prison. That's
Right.
what we need.
Yeah,
Right.
what's Kash Patel doing and what's Bondi doing?
Well, apparently Kash Patel and Dan Bongino decided to put the January 6th guy in charge of, the guy who put all those people in jail in charge of something at the CIA or FBI or whatever. FBI.
Huh. Uniparty again, huh?
What the hell's going on?
That's ridiculous. The guy that put Robert Morse, Lego Man, in prison is now an official in our government again?
Yeah,
Oh, come on.
absolutely.
All right, that I lose respect for Bongino and Patel on that one.
I just don't understand what's going on here. Like, where are the arrests? Where are my Epstein files? Right?
Right.
Where is it? It's not here. So I'm upset about that. And
I don't
yes,
blame you.
There's a lot of people in government. All this stuff. Delegate. Get this information out to the public. It's not hard.
That's right.
It's really not that hard. Do the right thing. But it's like, oh, they can't handle the truth. Hell yeah, we can handle the truth. Just hold people accountable, please. The lack of accountability has put us in this mess.
That's right.
So, anyways, look, we got to take our last break here on America Matters. Stay tuned, folks. We got a lot more to talk about. Don't
Amen.
forget, get involved in today's show, 775-384-4444. We want to hear from you. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Nathan Osmond of OsmondHomeLoans.com. I'm part of the elite team at Security Home Mortgage and want to become your preferred lender. There's never been a better time to lock in the rate. Unlike many of our competitors, we will not outsource your loan. Our setup, processing, underwriting, and closing staff are all in-house and will help you every step of the way. If you're looking to buy a home in Utah, or if you live here and wish to take advantage of historically low rates, then I am your mortgage man. Be sure to visit OsmondHomeLoans.com today to receive a free quote. That's OsmondHomeLoans.com.
NMLS number 2043092. In times of market volatility, it can be a good reminder to revisit your financial strategies to make sure they align with your goals. Call 775-674-2222 or visit nvretirementplanners.com. Advisory services are offered through Nevada Retirement Planners, an investment advisor in the state of Nevada. Any insurance products and services are offered through Nevada Senior Advisors. Nevada Retirement Planners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Nevada Retirement Planners does not provide legal or tax advice.
Talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, I remember you in the old days, Park Lane Mall, a kiosk. It's a lot different now, isn't it?
Man, that was a long time ago. In 1988, we've been blessed that we've been guided, and finally we have bought an amazing building across the street from the convention center. We found a better way to serve you. We call it home. We managed to create amazing energy. And when we say welcome to the family, boy, we really mean it.
It is a family affair.
Absolutely. And we couldn't have done it without our wonderful customers who believed in us for all of 27 years. So I'm here to really say thanks to all of our wonderful family members who we started as customers, who now we know each other's children's and grandchildren.
All those years ago, a little kiosk in Park Lane Mall. Park Lane Mall's not there anymore, but you are still here.
Yeah, we have solidified our future by buying this beautiful building on Virginia Street. So we're there to serve you.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. We went into our last 15 minutes, 12 minutes and 20 seconds of the show. So make sure you text in at 775-384-4444. We've been talking about a whole bunch of stuff here, talking about the market and all that. So, do you have any texts that have come in, Eddie?
Yes, I have one that came in that I really am excited about, and it's from Paul White. Remember Paul White?
Oh, I love Paul. He's
brilliant. I love him too. And he said, hey, get me back on the show again because I want to tell everybody in Nevada and California and surrounding states that your show ought to be a required class in our educational system. Thank you, Paul. That's quite the compliment coming from someone like you.
Absolutely. Look, I'm just privileged to even know Paul, and I'm looking forward to working with him and helping make education great again here in California. The man is a wealth of knowledge. He has been successful in taking the worst kids and making them the best students.
Amen.
The man knows how to do it. He's had a lot of experience, and his no excuse attitude and holding people accountable is what helped shape those kids into the successes that they've become today. And I'm very impressed with everything he's done. There's a lot you can learn from Paul. I'd love to have him on again.
Well, he says, get me back on the show with you guys again because I'm serious about your show becoming a class in our educational system. I've learned more listening to the two of you and Shanimal than I have in any class I ever taught. I like that.
That's really an honor, and it means a lot. Thank you so much. And look, it's the power of the truth, right?
Yeah. That's civics and government. We used to have civics and government when I went to high school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We had classes
I
like
had
that.
Americanism versus communism.
Yeah. And we had history too.
Yeah.
Real history.
Yeah, real history.
Does a green stock chart translate to well-being for the average American, Leo?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, if you're riding that wave up, sure, it can.
Yeah.
So, it's there's America is not just a stock symbol. Recent data reveals that approximately 58% of American households owned stock in 2022. So, I mean, yeah, it certainly can. They either directly or indirectly through mutual funds. So, but however, stock ownership is heavily skewed towards the affluent. So the wealthiest 10% of Americans own a staggering 93% of U.S. equities.
Wow.
Yeah. So this concentration means that market surges predominantly benefit those already at the top of the economic ladder, leaving the majority with minimal direct gains. I think a lot of this has to do with why things like cryptocurrency has become very popular because it's cheap and people can get in and out really quickly.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it leads to more income inequality, to some degrees. But look, people have the opportunity to get into the market through many different forms, whether, like I said, like mutual funds, 401ks, or just trading on your own. I'm not saying the stock market is the best place to put your money or the only place you should put your money. I'm someone who's a very firm believer in brick and mortar and doing things yourself. But yeah, it happens. So, anyways, things have been changing over the years, haven't they?
Oh, amen, amen, Leo, and like I said, what a compliment coming from Paul D. White. You and I'll have to get him with Shanimal back on the show again real soon.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. We're definitely going to have Paul on. And we want to get other folks to get involved in the show too.
Sure,
lots of folks out there.
I want to get the Women in Politics show going again.
Oh yeah, wasn't that great?
Oh yeah, that was a great idea, and unfortunately, it was just fraught with some people had some medical issues they had to deal with, and we had to postpone that show. But it's great anyway. You've got Gerald Antonoro saying, "Amen, Leo. We have equal opportunity. What people choose to do is up to them. We don't need to redistribute wealth, so there is equality."
Right. Look, that's the thing. People have to understand that America is the best place to create wealth and success for yourself. I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, and he's like, why not just go to like a third world country and start, a poultry company? And I said, well, here's the thing. It'll make a lot of money right up until that government decides to take it away from you.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
That's why the investments in the third world don't take place at the way that you would imagine that they do, right? You would think, oh, well, it's cheaper to do it there and they need help. Why don't we go and do that? Problem is the governments there are corrupt. And when you're over there, you're outside of U.S. jurisdiction. And even if you're a U.S. citizen, they're not going to protect you. Why?
Right.
Because you're not paying them taxes.
That's right.
That's right. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. You're not part of their income anymore.
Correct.
They try to call that social justice, this redistribution of the wealth.
Yeah.
That's for creeps, man. That's for lazy people who don't want to work, don't want to get out there, and they're going to live off of me, Leo, and Eddie, and Jerry, and everybody else around. They want a piece of us when we have gotten out there and worked our butts off to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
That's communist socialism.
Yeah, and I'll say this for the FCC: it's also bullshit.
It is. It is.
Don't stoop.
People just don't understand that in America, there's a lot of protections that allow you to be successful and thrive and be the entrepreneur you want to be. The problem is it's so full of red tape nowadays that it's very difficult for folks to break into that market. Because if you go and set up a shop, you set up a business in, the Congo, and it does well, guess what? Who's going to stop the government from saying, you know what, we're just going to seize your assets? Because this happens. This happens in third world countries all the time. You set up a business, it starts doing well, the government comes in and just sees it and says it's ours now. And what are you going to do? And what are you going to do about it? There's nothing. Yeah. The reason they don't mess with companies like, PepsiCo or Coca-Cola or Frito-Lay or whatever is because those companies have more money than those countries.
Right.
And they're also U.S. taxpayers. Just because they operate there doesn't mean they're not paying taxes in the U.S. So when their stuff gets, if let's say some third world dictator was to take over a Coca-Cola bottling plant in some, whatever country they're in, I guarantee you by the end of that week, they would have that. The U.S. would, if they don't relinquish it and give it back to Coca-Cola and say, I'm sorry, I can guarantee you there would be cruise missiles up their butt.
That's right.
Or some sort of, localized, military invasion.
Or Team 6.
Yeah. But that's what would happen. See, we have these protections and opportunities to create here in America. But if we don't allow the people to have those abilities to create, you're never going to be successful. That's why we have to do away with the red tape. That's why Donald Trump in his first term was so instrumental in that. And look what happened. The middle class grew by 11%.
That's right.
And you know why the deep state, the globalists don't like that? Because it created another way for folks to become independent and not reliant on them. Because Joe Biden and they wanted to make everybody dependent on the government, receiving the handouts. And you're not going to get fed if you don't have our money from us.
Right.
People need the opportunity to create. Donald Trump is allowing that. He's making the business moves to make that happen for everybody. But the mainstream mouthpieces are going to lie every step of the way. So.
Yep.
They'll do anything they can to stop him, and I mean that. I really do. It frightens me for him and his family.
Well, that's why they have to have the level of security that they have.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of evil people out there. And the worst part is it's more than just evil people. There's useful idiots that have been just mesmerized into thinking that he's so awful. That's why there's been 2 assassination attempts on him.
Right.
Yeah.
Just 2 that we know of.
That we know of. Thank you for adding that, Leo.
So, I mean, this is what happens when you allow the mainstream media to manipulate people's minds.
Yeah.
They do this for nefarious purposes. If they really cared about this country, like I don't understand it. Like I was literally wearing this shirt last night when I was playing hockey. It says, "Live in the country you support the country you live in, or live in the country you support."
Oh, good shirt. Boy,
Nice.
That's great.
So, if you hate America, then leave. There's the door.
Go home.
Go wherever else you want.
Yeah,
in the
wherever.
world. But there's a reason that people are flocking to this country. It's because of the opportunity here. It's because of the protections here. It's because of the quality of life here.
Yeah.
Now, it's not at the standard that I believe it should be at. And I think you guys feel that way too. We know it can be better because it has been better.
Right.
But that's bureaucracy getting in the way. It's bureaucracy draining your money. And it's corruption, siphoning it all out. And there's no results to show for it other than people becoming exorbitantly wealthy, especially those in our bloated government, like Nancy Pelosi, like AOC, like Bernie Sanders.
That's right.
So
I think Kristi Noem said it best when she said, "Leave now, and you might have a chance to come back and live the American dream."
Yeah, everybody who comes here illegally, they take away opportunity from somebody who's doing the right thing and getting in line and filling out the paperwork and having the background check done and being properly vetted. They take away those opportunities. And worse, when they suck away our money for healthcare, or they, even worse, cast a vote, not because it's for the right thing for the people, but they do it for self-serving purposes because of the handouts that they're going to receive from one party's lies and their empty promises. They don't care about how it impacts the rest of us.
That's right.
That's right. And this is by the millions, Leo. Millions of doing this.
Over 2 million Social Security numbers were handed out by Joe Biden's administration.
The last year, 23, I think it was, right? Or 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
24. Beginning.
Unbelievable. All on purpose.
All by
Bring
design.
the country down.
All by design.
Yep.
They hate America. Well, guess what? We love America. And I know that everybody out there listening does too. This is a country worth fighting for. Stand up against the lies, spread the truth, learn about your candidates, get involved, vote them into office.
Amen.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. America Matters. I know we're out of time, but I had a blast. I hope you did too.
We did.
Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. Thanks, everybody. See y'all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow at noon.